This is a brand new show called Can You Believe It, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project. And my other host on this show, I really don't like to use the term co-host because that implies that he's second tier, and this gentleman is anything but second tier. And that is Barry Prince. Barry, would you say hello, please?
Good evening, folks, and thanks for joining us for our premiere show of our evening here with Roger and me. And I'm looking forward to sharing lots of thoughts and ideas and feelings with Roger here over the course of the next 2, 6, 7, 10 years, however long it takes to get the word out.
Well, I got to tell you something. There's a whole lot of people out there to wake up. We do have multiple shows in the Liberty Beacon Project, but just like the Liberty Beacon website, and for anybody who's listened to any of the Liberty Beacon shows, you've probably heard me say this before. The Liberty Beacon is the center, the website is the center of the Liberty Beacon Project. And the Falling Darkness is the edge of the Liberty Beacon Project. That's where we discuss things. I'm hearing a lot of banging, Barry.
Sorry.
That's all right. I thought maybe somebody had broken in your front door.
The parrot knocked the lamp off the table.
Oh! So anyway, as I was saying, as the Liberty Beacon website is the center of our project, then the Falling Darkness, which is our other main site, is the edge of the Liberty Beacon Project. And we do have several shows that center our project, radio shows, but this is a show specifically called Can You Believe It? And it's called that for a reason. Because some of the things we're going to present to you here, we've actually tried on other venues and other radio networks, and they weren't too keen on hearing the bold or the blatant truth. As a matter of fact, we got a little pushback against that. And so what we did was what we should have done in the first place, and come back to Awake Radio, which has always been a great home for the Liberty Beacon Project and a partner to the Liberty Beacon Project. And we probably should have launched this show here to start with. But it's like anything else. Through making mistakes and learning a lesson from each, we acquire wisdom. So I'm a little wiser today than I was a week ago. So this is going to be the edge of the Liberty Beacon Project as far as radio shows. We are going to endeavor to give you the bold and blatant truth. We're not going to candy coat it. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to dress it up in frills and fluffies. We're not going to place it on a soft pillow bed so that you don't hurt yourself if you fall on it. This is going to be the truth as we see it. Anybody who has listened to any shows that I've done, and I do a few, actually quite a few, I'm very fond of saying two things. One is, if we tell you this is a fact, it's because we've done the research and we know it to be a fact. If we tell you something with angst, it's because we know it's a fact. If we don't know it's a fact, we're going to let you know that. We're going to say we believe this may be true, or due to information we've received, this is a good possibility, but we're not going to say this is a fact. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I'm very fond of saying this, and Paula, my co-host on the Liberty Beacon Rant, would jump right in right now and say it before I even got a chance. But the second thing I'm very fond of saying is, Google it! Because a lot of things we're going to say are not going to make you happy campers. And a lot of the things we might tell you might make your eyeballs get as big as saucer plates. So when I say something like that, or I'm sure Barry will have his own cue on something like that, I'm going to follow it up with Google it. And I'm not kidding you. I want you to do that. And I don't mean Google is the only search engine out there you can use. I say Google it because it sounds so great rolling off the tongue with a little bit of emphasis. Of course, there's Bing. There's a lot of other search engines out there you can use. But if I tell you something that's hard to believe and I know it's going to be a tough pill for you to swallow, then I'm going to tell you, Google it. And I strongly recommend you do. Well, Barry, we've got a lot of ground to cover and a lot of things to talk about. You're relatively new to the Liberty Beacon Project, but what most people don't know is that you are also our director of radio media. for the Liberty Beacon Project. So you've got a bit of a task in front of you and a lot of truth to get out. What do you see as the mission for Can You Believe It?
Well, Roger, thanks. Yeah, folks, I've only met Roger here probably, I think it was 6 weeks ago that we first had our first conversation, Roger. And
If
at that
that, yeah.
time, yeah, it's been about 6 weeks. And you know what? On our first conversation there, Roger kind of laid down to me his vision for the Liberty Beacon and exactly what he was trying to do with this project. And I kind of sat back here and kind of looked at it, and I started talking to Roger. And through conversations with the gentleman, I started to really grasp his vision. And what I see now, folks, is an opportunity for many, many, many groups of liberal-minded, honest, good souls to get together under one project and amalgamate our voices into such a large group that they're going to be heard, that they cannot be denied. And that's really what the whole vision that I see for the Liberty Beacon and why I've really jumped on board. What I've seen here, Roger, just in the last couple of weeks in growth of incredibly intelligent, intellectually minded, good-hearted souls that are really, really, really committed to doing what we're doing right now, come on board. And it just seems like it's a snowball that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're shooting for the stars. We really have a mission here, and I see the end result, and it's something that is so necessary right now, folks, in our life, that we all come together under one voice, and I really feel that this is the motive for doing it. So that's why I'm in here and really trying to get the feeling out to people that this could be an opportunity to really make a difference. Roger?
Well, that's our mission statement, basically, in a nutshell. Our mission is to wake up the ignorant. And again, most people push back on that word as if it's a negative. It's not a negative. If I said our mission here is to educate the stupid, then now I've given everybody out there who's not aware of what we're aware of a negative connotation. And I don't believe that. Okay? There's a big difference between the definition of stupidity and ignorance. Stupidity to me is having the facts available to you and choosing to do nothing with them. That to me is someone who I would classify as stupid. It is a whole different story. That's not having the facts, so you don't know what to do with them. So the mission behind the Liberty Beacon Project is, first off, to educate. And through education, you dispel ignorance. And once you dispel ignorance, then you find that people, especially when they're first waking up, their eyeballs open. I mentioned the size of saucer plates before. Their eyeballs open as big as saucer plates, and this stuff hits them like a ton of bricks. But this is what we need to do. We need, because I continually say over and over again, it's only through numbers that we will accomplish anything. We don't have the massive amount, or that the elite do. We don't have the massive technical research behind everything they're doing. We don't have a lot of the mechanisms that they utilize against us. What we do have, though, is the most perfect and undefeatable force on this planet. And that is 7.5 billion people. And for anybody who believes that the Liberty Beacon Project is focused on the United States, you're wrong. Because we are all in this project very aware. As a matter of fact, I would tell you that Barry is from Canada. I will tell you that we are all aware of two things that need to be understood by everybody, and that is liberty and tyranny are not American concepts. We don't have a patent on them. Look across the globe today and see how many nations either suffer what we suffer or suffer what we suffer to a much higher degree. So what we are is a global organization, and we've already launched 3 websites with many, many more to follow. We have a website up and running in Australia, and over the next 24 hours, because most of the work's already been done, we'll have a website up and running in Canada and a website up and running in the United Kingdom. And this is just the very first step. It's not the end of the it's not the beginning of the end of anything because we progressed this far. Actually, what it is, in fact, is just the end of the beginning. We're going into phase two in this project, and we are going to start bringing nations into this project one at a time. Not with our voice, not what we need to say, because the definition of tyranny and liberty in each country is dependent upon what they receive each day. How does their government treat them? Do they get affected by GMOs that we do? Do they get affected by vaccines, by chemtrails, by political tyranny, by outside influence, say perpetual warfare? Tyranny is defined by the environment you live in, and so is liberty. Our idea of liberty in this country is not the same thing all around the world. There are people out there that believe there are other forms of government that are better or just as good or serve them better just due to their environment. So tyranny and liberty are defined by the peoples of those individual countries and will never be dictated from or to or from this project. What we will do is we will speak to tyranny on a whole. And we will allow each one of these individual countries to define tyranny as they see it. And we will contact will be an international section on each one of these websites so that we have a global input, but they discuss their local inputs as they apply to them. Anybody believing for 1 second that there isn't at least one, there is any nation on the face of the earth that doesn't either suffer a lack of liberty or an excessive amount of tyranny needs to open your eyes. Because if you look across the globe today, we have warfare popping off everywhere. We have GMOs being force-fed to just about everybody on this planet. We have toxic chemicals being used in just about every country on this planet. We have chemtrails spraying every continent on this planet. So, again, this is the mission of the Liberty Beacon Project. It is to educate, it is to bring the world together under a network of liberty. And that is the Liberty Beacon Project. Many people have asked me over and over again, why don't I just call it the Liberty Beacon instead of calling it the Liberty Beacon Project? Because the Liberty Beacon is a website. The Liberty Beacon Project is, at this point, 6, soon to be 8 websites, 4, soon to be 6 podcast shows, an affiliation with a half a dozen other websites, at least 8 or 9 Facebook groups and pages with an affiliation of almost 500 more. So that's what we're seeing here. This is, in fact, a project. And you say, Barry?
I'm sorry, Roger. Yeah, no, the project that has the capabilities. I was just trying to get in touch with our guest there, Roger, and I was just making contact with him. The project has the capabilities of going around the world, and that's what we're shooting at. This is not a problem is shared in the United States or Canada. It's not shared in the United Kingdom. It is a problem that is global. We look at the economies of the world. We look at unrest in the world. We look at what's going on in all countries right now on the planet. And it is a planetary problem. So here we have an opportunity to unite groups together, and that's what I really see as the vision. And of course, like you said, Roger, educating, because there is a lot of people that don't have all the information in front of their faces. And sometimes they don't even want to look at the information. But the more it's put out there, the more information that's put out into radio stations like this, the more people that hear this, eventually it will get out. And I'm kind of excited about 2014, Roger. It could be a good year, it could be a bad year. I'm hoping it's a good year.
I will tell you at this point, Barry, I believe 2014 is a litmus test for humanity. We're either going to put enough of our voices together to a point where we can no longer be ignored and we're going to be heard, or things are going to get a whole hell of a lot worse. What we saw in 2013 was a definite increase in a lot of the tyranny around the world, and a lot of the tyranny here in North America, and especially in America. We've seen laws passed, we've seen through Congress, basically just they've waved them through. And a lot of cases, when asked, they've made blatant statements like, "No, I haven't read the bill. Nobody ever reads these bills."
Yeah.
Okay, you're representing me. Your job is to keep me safe and to keep tyranny off my back. And you're telling me a bill that's taking my freedom away, you didn't read it, and you're stating blatantly that a vast majority of those in Congress, meaning our representatives and our senators, never read bills. Okay, let's dissect that a little bit. All right, a 1,500 or a 2,000 or a 10,000 page bill hits the desk of a congressman. Okay, he's got a couple of days to look at this before he needs to do an up or down vote. First off, that's almost impossible right there. So he has a bunch of aides. They go through it. They give him a one-page synopsis. From that, he makes a decision on whether or not this is good for you and me. What do you think, Barry? Do you think that's even? Where's the sanity in that at all? And what's to say that those aides that are giving him the synopsis aren't bought and paid for? After all, we know there are billions of years spent in lobbying on Capitol Hill and both Canada and the United States and around the world. Every Democratic government is lobbied. Nobody's immune.
Roger, like we could sit here, buddy. Honestly, buddy, if we get into the corruption behind the corruption behind the corruption, we're going to get in so deep. We're going to need to go down the rabbit hole with a jackhammer, buddy, because you know and I know we get down to that bottom of that rabbit hole. It just keeps going, and then we find another little tunnel that takes us off to another rabbit hole, and that goes down even deeper. It's incredible how wide and how deep the corruption is inside our governments. But what you said there a few minutes ago, Roger, I want to reiterate on that a minute about the acceleration in attacks on our outright attacks on our freedom through Congress, through Obama's magic pen. This is happening at an incredible rate. But what I'm also seeing, Roger, is an incredible pushback from the liberty movements around the world. I have seen an acceleration of getting together of like I've never seen before. And that is very, very, very encouraging. The last couple of weeks has been very exciting, my friend. It's scary, but exciting.
Well, that we're getting tones.
Oh, somebody is dialing a phone number.
Yes, somebody's dialing a phone, and I'm hoping
that would be me. And I talk to you on mute too.
Okay, I agree. And for everybody out there, remember, this is the first time we're doing this show. I guarantee you by next week, everything will be spit and polish. But we put this together last minute because...
Don't guarantee that. I'm sorry.
This is Paula, by the way, and she's handling the board for Awake Radio, and she is also associated with the Liberty Beacon Project. And for anybody who listens to the Liberty Beacon Rant, they'll recognize her as my co-host. So, Paula, you're always welcome to pop in and say something anytime you want.
If you hear a phone call, that's me. I'm trying to get your guest.
Okay. And again, this, as I said, was originally intended to be on a different network, so we've pretty much sprung this on Paula. And we'll have all ironed out by next week. But it's something that...
Hello.
Wait a minute, Sheila's here with us.
Yeah, she's here. Hi, Sheila.
Hello, Sheila.
Hi, Sheila.
Everyone.
All right, let me tell you all about Sheila just a little bit. And Sheila, we're just a couple of minutes into the show, and we have managed to talk about the Liberty Beacon Project mission. But for all of you who don't know, and I can't imagine anybody out there in the Liberty Movement who doesn't know who Sheila Zelinsky is, but let me tell you. Sheila Zelinsky is the host of the Weekend Canada, which is one of the websites I told you, one of our new international websites, which will be coming online within the next 24 hours. So, Sheila, how are you today? And boy, we had trouble getting you in.
We did. Hey, Roger, I didn't hear a word you just said. Did everybody else hear Roger fine?
Is anybody hearing me?
You were breaking up a little bit there, Roger.
You broke up a bit and then and then straightened out. You're clear now.
Well, Sheila, it seems like every time you and I try to do a contact through Skype, it just absolutely goes to crap. Can you hear me now, Sheila?
I can hear you now. You just went I will introduce Sheila, and let me tell you, and then you blanked right out.
Well, I was telling everybody about the Weekend Vigilante, but I would like you to do a little bit of that. I did tell them you were part of the Liberty Beacon Project and that you were one of the senior admins for the new Liberty Beacon Canada website. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get into a little bit of politics here.
Oh, politics, my favorite goodie. Yeah, well, so I've got a pretty popular show, The Weekend Vigilante. My co-host is Dr. Timothy Ball. He's a renowned climatologist, wonderful, amazing, incredible guy. One instrumental in really bringing Al Gore and others sort of to task in ClimateGate, along with some other scientists. Incredible, brilliant man. And so we've kind of waged war and corruption here for the last few years. We've kind of joined forces, and the Weekend Vigilante is a really unique show, and we've got some very popular guests. We've got guys like Tom Horn, Steve Quayle, Dr. Michael Kaufman, some very, very who's who of the Liberty Movement people, and I think it's really exciting to be a part of it.
Well, you are definitely a part of it, and you're a very valued part of it. Between you and Paula, I got to tell you something. The two of you represent the females very, very well in this Liberty Movement. What most people don't understand is if we speak strictly of demographics, 65 to 70%, and we're talking several 100,000 visits to the Liberty Beacon site alone on a regular basis, and then we have at least 4 other sites up and running. 65 to 70% of our demographic is female. What do you think of that, Barry? Am I alone here?
Sorry, Roger. I'm muting out, and then I click the mic, and excuse me, I'm one of those computers like that. I hit the mic, it goes out, it goes in, blah, blah, blah. I think that's great. I think women should rule the world. How do you think? What do you think of that, Sheila? I'd vote you in for Prime Minister. How's that, Sheila?
Yeah, I think I probably would either decline that job, or I would find myself probably, going up on an elevator to a hotel that didn't have an elevator very quickly.
Yeah, okay.
Women
no shaft. Yeah, I think it's really wonderful, and I think it's absolutely it's brilliant that some of the women are joining they're really speed railing into this movement, and I think that's exciting. And I don't think there's a lot of women that really have gained momentum. I mean, I think it's real. I've out on the internet, I've read some of these articles, and it's been said the Weekend Vigilante is the fastest growing alternate media radio show in North America and possibly bigger. But I think the reason is because I really do try to bring in the best of the best experts in each field. I'm not asking Joe Blow down the street, my neighbor, what he thinks about it. I want my listening audience to get the best of who's been, tackling these issues for 25, 30 years. The best of the best experts out there. And I think that's important, and women need to be a part of this movement.
All right, now you have to answer a question. I'm going to put you on the spot, Sheila. Why do you think? I definitely have my reasons, and I'll talk to them after you're done. Why do you think that females make up 65 to 70% of the Liberty Beacon demographic?
Well, I wasn't aware of that till you just told me that, and that actually really surprises me because, I would say that I would always have thought that would be, hypothetically, I guess I would think that women perhaps are more emotionally wired. So these things like GMOs and frankenfoods and chemtrails, and, they obviously are more protective. So maybe they're more in tune to what's going on with their, the food, the water, the air, because of their families, that natural protective thing. But I did not know that.
Okay. Barry, I'm going to tattle on you. Barry just typed me a message that says because they have a backbone.
Well, Roger,
well, that's
really.
not exactly what he said, but that's the way I read it.
Okay,
Yes,
no,
Barry.
what I said is women are the backbone of our family, right? And they are waking up. And it's important, Roger, that I want to reiterate on that just for a second because, that our families are under attack. And I see that women are waking up in a lot larger numbers, it seems, than men. Because, like I said, they are the backbone of our family, and they seem to exert a large amount of knowledge and wisdom. So bring them on. That's all I can say.
All right. Well, I need to tell you why I think women are here. in a much in a larger portion than men, and a
Okay.
lot of it had to do with what you both said. The biggest point here is the maternal instinct. These are still today, a vast majority of the families are cared for, and a very large portion by the female, the mother. Okay, and basically, you and I, Barry, grew up with a term, and Sheila, you're not quite in our age league, but I'm sure you've heard this before. When people say, "Oh, you're mothering me," well, they have that maternal instinct for their children. A lot of what they see happening around them today has an impact on you and me, but that
Well, yeah, of course, we see an all-out attack on the family from all different directions. Um, you know, anytime in history you want to destroy a country, man, you attack the family, you attack the youth, and you undermine the families, you undermine the youth. And that, in a nutshell, is exactly what's happening in North America today. Sheila, what do you think?
Well, I think it's not just a fervent attack on the family, but I think the other piece around this is the fact that there is a total attack. It's not just on the family; it's been an attack on people's ethics, their morals. I mean, I would say on my show that I got a lot of echoing here. Is that something I should be concerned about? There we go. Something's not interfering now. Yeah, there's there's an attack on there's attack on us as Christian, a Christian nation. There's an attack on morals, ethics, the family. There's nothing that's not under attack right now.
Yeah, I agree. I just reiterating what you're saying there, Sheila. I just read an article on the top 10 countries that Canada's supporting with our foreign aid programs. And you know what? They're the top 10 countries in the world right now that are persecuting Christians. And I go, why is my Canadian government supporting these countries that are all outright slaughtering Christians? Just
Sure.
something I want to add to your conversation there, Sheila. Exactly what's going on right now in our world, man.
Well, we've never seen this all-out war on Christianity before. We just have never seen that.
It is all over the place, Sheila. I was reading some stats on it, man, and looking at the top 10 countries and exactly what's going on. And the problem is none of this is ever exposed on the mainstream media. You very, very seldom hear anything about the slaughtering of Christians in foreign countries. It's just quashed. And of course, we know there's a reason behind that. And if one day these people that are quashing all this information in the mainstream media, well, they're going to have to answer for themselves, And they're going to
Well,
have to
I
answer
think,
to somebody much higher than you and me. And that
I
I
think,
believe.
Tim and I have talked about this just really recently on my show, and I think 2014 is really very going to be a very critical juncture for humanity. It's a
I agree.
I think it's like a pivotal watershed year where so many things that we've seen the lead up to, the socioeconomic, the technological, the geopolitical and environmental develops. I think there's going to be a lot of a culmination to change the course of human history forever. I mean, we
I
already see that the globalists are, now revealing their full out agenda, like tyranny, full rush towards it. And I don't know. I really always wonder, Barry, if we can turn the tides against these tyrants because all these planned attacks, they've plundered and pillaged and raped the middle class. It's total subjugation. Every area of our lives, there's this full spectrum dominance. It's serfdom by stealth. This is just a complete out of control government gone mad.
It is, Sheila, and I have to honestly, I have to wake up some days and pinch myself to really believe that I'm seeing the acceleration that I'm living in this world that I'm living in right now. I mean, I was aware all my life of these accumulations of events that we're seeing right now, Sheila, but we're seeing it come to a pinnacle right now. I honestly believe that we are on a precipice right now, and if we fall into it, I don't know if the human race will crawl out of it. I mean, that might sound extreme, but I'm going to agree with everything you just said, Sheila. I look at all the mitigating factors right now, our financial situations, our world situations, our war situations, everything is on the verge of crumbling. I mean, they could literally destroy the economies of the world in 24 hours, and that alone would cause enough tyranny for them to implement any kind of plan they want to bring along. You got to realize, folks, that we're dealing with psychopaths, that people that have no conscience, no fear, no feelings for the human race at all. They have an agenda. They've sat down and thought this out for years and years and years, and they've implemented it properly, and now it's working exactly how they planned it to work. And we have to recognize that to really recognize it, to fight against it, Sheila.
Well, I think even Barry, someone with honestly the most virulent case of cognitive dissonance or normalcy bias, call it whatever you want, but you know, even people that know maybe very little about politics and are very, very much not awake, I think they're still thinking or feeling like something stinks in Denmark here because, you do have this dumbed down, zombified mass. They're all
Oh,
walking around in this trance. They're completely out of touch with what's happening. I'd say probably 70 to 80% of Christians shrugging their shoulders, singing Kumbaya. Well, I always say to Roger, Rome burns around us here. And these mega churches are now watering down everything, and it's just
oh.
love your servitude in every area, and it's sickening. And you just said that might sound extreme. I'll tell you what's extreme. It's extreme when these hedonistic hucksters are trying to destroy the very fabric of our society through their depopulation schemes, because all of it really comes down to eradicating it's a nice, manageable little 500 million people from 7 billion people. That's what they want to do. And folks, guess what? It's not out of my mouth. These guys are the ones saying it.
Yeah, Agenda 21, the Georgia Guidestones, it's all in front of our faces, Sheila. And you look at the mechanisms that what they can implement this plan. They're all around us. You got bio warfare men. They've got germs that could wipe out billions of us. They can implement a new disease. They could set off a false flag. They could blow up an atomic bomb. They can implement their HARP. They got all these weapons, all this stuff lined up. And what really scares me, Sheila, when they do implement it, it's going to come down very, very hard. It's going to knock people right off their feet, and people are going to be in such a state of confusion that nobody will be able to respond properly. They've really thought this out close. They've really thought it out hard, Sheila, and they've looked at all the scenarios. So you're right. We are on perilous, perilous times right now.
Well, and I'll tell you
And
what, people have to start taking responsibility for, things like when we talk about smart meters, for example. People have to understand this. I'm going to, tell your listeners a little bit about, smart meters employ switch mode power. So it's electromagnet frequency in the form of voltage transients. So they can be greater than 10,000 volts per, it's like megahertz and megavolts. They range in wattage. These things in your home, these smart meters on the side of your homes, are sending out these EMP. So they're essentially they're way more powerful than you can imagine. And they actually, what they do is they cause a breakdown in your DNA. They cause your red blood cells. There was a very, very great movie that everybody should click on and Google called Take Your Power Back. It's a documentary. And you can actually find it on the internet now. I believe it's on YouTube. And again, amazing video. But they showed people, they put a smart meter 2 feet away from people, and in 2 minutes, they looked at their live blood cells, and the red blood cells were starting to literally burst. I mean, it was just, it was sickening what was happening. So, people need to get rid of these smart meters. We're being bathed in this Wi-Fi, cell phone towers. We're being bathed and fried in this stuff. Turn Wi-Fi off at night. Turn your cordless phone off. Get your cell phone away from your head. I mean, there's so many things that people can be doing, and it just angers me that we're being bathed with, geoengineering, chemtrails, everything in the food, the water, the frankenfoods, the cell towers. I mean, it's a sci-fi horror.
Well, if you stop and look at it, if you stop and look at all of it, it's all cumulative. And the thing of it is, if you stop and put it all into perspective, we know, just due to the movie that you talked about, we know due to all the peer-reviewed studies that have been done on GMOs,
Yeah.
we know that due to all the research that's been done on vaccines like Gardasil, which is promoting infertility in women, and now we're giving it to men, and they want to give it to infants now. We know that all of these things are causing harm, but yet if you stop and look, they're all being promoted by the government, all of them. So if you and I know this, Trump doesn't know this, but yet they are going out of their way to promote each and every one of these mechanisms. Where does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, well, it doesn't.
there is no common sense left in our world, guys. We know that. We all recognize and identify all these different attacks. it amazes me some days that the whole human race can't identify it. And that's why what we're doing here is so important. Try and get this education out. If you can wake up one person during the course of this show, guys, we've had a good night.
Well,
Roger.
I would tell you real quick, Barry and Sheila, that when you say that it just doesn't make any sense, it doesn't make any sense to the people with their feet on the ground or their boots on the ground, as Timont used to say. It doesn't make sense to the average person who all of this is being done to, because he's getting attacked in every different direction from every aspect of his life. But there are some people where all of this does make sense. And these are the people who live at the top of the pyramid, what we call, quote unquote, the elite. And if you think that all of this doesn't make sense to us, I will guarantee you it all makes sense to them.
Well, you know
Now,
what else is really disturbing, Roger and Barry, is the fact that we have an economic meltdown unfolding before our eyes. You know, and forget the NSA spying and the fact that the world wants to, bail on the US centric internet. Forget all that. Look at what's going on in America, Roger, right now when it comes, the talking heads, they say, oh, everything's fine, nothing to see here, folks. Yet you've got these fictitious business, fabricated reports, unemployment's a sham, the GDP's a joke, retail sales are all fabricated. Got JP Morgan, Deutsche, all these guys dumping on commodities. So they're getting ready to, they're bailing. You don't have any growth. It's completely manipulated statistics, and the U.S. has lost its wealth, its influence, its power. And on the world stage, guess what, folks? It's the toothless pit bull. We've become the nuisance hanging around the punch bowl. We're the last drunk in the party. We're a broke nation. And the globalists have us right where they want. And it's the perfect storm to enter in their one world currency and one world system. It's just it's a playbook of the who's who of the globalists.
well, let me tell you how bad it really is and what most people don't understand, because they look at, hey, look, unemployment's getting better. It's all the way down to 6.9% now. Let me explain something to you. The Great Depression was called the Great Depression because about 24 to 25% of the population in this country was unemployed. Actually, the highest figure, some people will tell you, some economists, is 23 to 24%. The real unemployment rate in this country, and all you have to do is Google this to find out, I'm not exaggerating, is between 26 and 28% right now. It's not 6.9%. That is absolute bull.
You've got 92 million out of the workforce, 52 million on food stamps, 100 million on welfare. That's a third of the population. And this fascist establishment is saying they're in trouble, so they're playing this economic suicide chess here. Again, like I just said, you got Goldman Sachs and Deutsche and JP Morgan dumping commodities. It's like, I don't know, I liken the boss to the hostage gunpoint scenario. You've got all these bubbles, you've got this fractional easing, you've got quantitative easing, you think of what's going on with the implosions right now. It's the triple-headed beast of stagflation, inflation, deflation. I mean, this is a nightmare. This is a globally orchestrated meltdown, Roger and Barry.
Yeah, Sheila, go ahead.
Go ahead, Barry.
Go ahead.
No,
I was just going to say, go ahead.
Real quick.
Barry, think about the fact that America, the entire history of America was anchored on gold and silver. Gold stood as the standard and protected the people from corrupt banksters for more than 50 solid years. And I'm not talking about at the dawn of the, way back in the day. I'm not talking about way back when the JP Morgan in 1907, and the old financial luminary that he was, created such a spiral back then. This is back in 1907, of such a spiral of turmoil that when he crashed the New York Stock Exchange, guess what they implemented? A central bank fiasco. So the scourge that is the 1913 Federal Reserve, that was when they created this unrestricted, unregulated 100-year-old Federal Reserve. It's like the fox watching over the gold-filled hen house. And Bretton Woods had a major flaw in that. And people need to really understand our monetary system, because the feds could essentially print notes. And no thanks to Nixon issuing a decree that, the flooding would, he was flooding the world with this paper money. And they were robbing every nation. And then you fast forward to OPEC and the petrodollar scheme. And, when you have an oil-backed currency outspending all the nations in the world and creating this military juggernaut, because what do you need to be the big dog? You need what? You need a strong military and you need the world, reserve currency. America had both. Essentially, America had an unlimited credit card for so long. And now you've got guys like Putin saying, hey, we don't need you anymore, America. Remember what you did to us? You've got other countries saying, yeah, we're backing away from the American dollar. China's bailing, Russia's bailing, all these other countries are moving away from the dollar. This is going to be a nightmare because two pillars that always underpinned the American supremacy were their world reserve dollar backing by an awesome military might. Well, guess what? The big dog got kicked off the front porch.
Well, I would tell you that the mechanism even goes a little deeper than that, okay? Think of a giant billows, okay? You push it in, you pull it out. You push it in, you pull it out. And what does it do? It transfers air from one spot to another. All right, do you know what inflation and deflation are? They are a mechanism for the elites to move money from the hands of the average American citizen or the wealth from the middle class in this country and move it to where? Move it to the people,
like TARP.
the elite.
Hey, wasn't that a great thing?
So what you have is a giant billow. And think of that. When you stand in front of a fire and you move that thing in and out, you're transferring air to the fire from the billow. Well, what you have with inflation and deflation are the exact same thing. I can show you quotes from the elite that flat out tell you, including Franklin Delano Roosevelt, stating that the Depression was choreographed to siphon a massive amount of wealth from the middle-class American to the wealthy. The Depression never should have happened. It was choreographed to make the rich insanely rich. And it worked very well.
What do you think, Roger, when you've got, the IMF now, they've got this new working paper out, and Carmen Reinhart is saying, debt sustainability can be achieved through a mix of, get this, austerity and tolerance for higher inflation is needed. The shenanigans and lies, they just continue, and yet the people mindlessly muddle along, and they're not even going to see this coming. But the big question is, Roger, what happens when all this exported inflation comes home to roost and everyone else is trading in currency that's not ours?
I would tell you that very, very soon, and by soon I mean either by the end of 2014 or early 2015, we're going to see something called hyperinflation.
Bingo. You're going to go to bed on a Friday night and you're going to wake up Monday and you're not going to be able to afford $15 per gallon, or America's going to have a huge fire sale like Greece, where the vultures in control have destroyed everything and just offer the little picked over scraps. That's what is going to happen when the hyperinflation kicks in and you get this price inflation so bad. Like I said, go to sleep on a Friday and good luck buying anything on that Monday. That is what's going to happen, Roger.
Well, $3.90 for 97 cents to get a gallon of gas at the closest gas station to me, which is about 45 minutes away. But did you know that whatever you buy today doesn't cost a penny more, or it doesn't cost any more than what it did 100 years ago? It's the value of the dollar that is decreased. It's not the cost of manufacturing or producing or selling anything that is increased. And this has all been done because what that does, let's go back to the bellows again, it siphons the wealth from you and I. Inflation is a perfect mechanism to make you and I poor and the rich richer. Barry, your opinions on that. What do you think of inflation, and do you think we're about to see some serious hyperinflation come our way?
Well, for one, Sheila, you blow me away on your wealth of knowledge. Okay, I sit and listen to it. I've listened to the Max Kaiser report here 3 times in the last couple of weeks, and he's basically everything you just said, Sheila. He is basically what he is saying, that we really are on a pinnacle, that we've been set up for this. It's been planned for a long time, and it's a mechanism they can implement right now to create chaos on this planet like we have never seen before. You think about America, Sheila, just the average family. They go to bed one night and their dollar the next day is almost worthless. None of them are prepared for this. Very, very few Americans are. A vast majority of the population is not prepared for this, and it's going to create turmoil in America. I'm scared to say that we've never seen before in history. We've seen examples of it in Europe, and that's just the touch of the iceberg, guys. I believe, like Sheila said, that 2014, 2015 are going to be pinnacle years in human history. Either we fix it or it's going to get right out of hand. Sheila?
Well, hey, China and Russia right now, Barry, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Cyprus, but I mean, China and Russia right now are playing chess for supremacy and they're cutting deals to sidestep the dollar. China's been in a stockpile mode for years. Back up the truck and buy with both hands. I mean, they've been buying boatloads of gold. So what's happening is that essentially, I believe, and just my gut is that because we see China's melting down their exchange-approved bars and making coins, I think they're going for a gold-backed currency. I think they want the next standard. And if China takes dominion with a gold-backed trade note, the U.S. would then desperately need gold. Well, guess what, folks? U.S. has no gold. China's already been buying oil with their own currency. So they're essentially bypassing the international trade currency, and they've got this money infused. That's without forced austerity. So essentially, China could monetize gold, make it very high if they have a lot of gold. That means what happens for America is essentially a global reset. And hey, we could be looking at 50,000. We could be looking at about, I mean, it's not unrealistic to look at 10 to 50,000 an ounce for gold. I mean, gold should be probably sitting at 10,000. Now, again, if they have the World Trade Standard, the actual gold-backed trade note, then obviously that would be a different kind of monetary system than the current one we have. But China becomes the largest trading nation. Did you see the headlines a month ago? We've got the China outdoing the GDP. Like these are unprecedented moves, and they've been coming a long time because China's been just slowly creeping up, and bang, we didn't see it coming.
But there's one thing we haven't discussed yet, one piece of the puzzle, and major disaster coming at the United States that we haven't discussed, and that is World War III. And I don't care what anybody says, you can push back as much as you want, but there are a lot of people out there that would tell you a major war would go a long way towards fixing a lot of the economic woes in this country. Now, would it be an artificial means of, or basically a big Band-Aid? Yeah, it would. And would it change things a lot? Because we would end up in what would be a global monetary system. But do you think that this country was pushing so hard for war with Syria just because we wanted it to go in and make Syria, give Syria a black eye? Absolutely not. Warfare is very profitable. Warfare allows for more control. Warfare is one of the biggest, and it's the next mechanism this government's going to use to put a Band-Aid on what's happening.
You're absolutely right. And we all saw, we've been we know that we know all these shenanigans are again, they're all globally orchestrated little shenanigans so that we do have a complete collapse. And then what happens? Well, it's a perfect time because as we say all the time, Roger, out of the ashes, arises the phoenix, or the new world order. It's the perfect scenario because, as you just said, who used to back both sides of every war? All the same who's who of the globalists have always been involved in backing both sides of every war. War is big business and war is big money. And they want to go after, what do you think is sitting in Syria, Barry and Roger, that they want to get their little mitts on?
Lots of oil and lithium.
I think the first one will do.
And opium and whatever else they get their hands on.
Yeah, but I gotta push back a little bit against the oil scenario, because what most people don't understand is that the largest oil reserves on this planet are sitting just under the southeastern Rocky Mountains, estimated to be between 3.5 and 5 trillion barrels of oil, or more than 5 times the rest of the world's oil reserves combined. So it's not so much a matter of getting their oil as it is a matter of control, and control of the shipping, control of the marketing, and through that, the strengthening the petrodollar. The United States has 3.5 to 5 times more oil under the Rocky, and this is a fact you can Google, than the rest of the world combined. We've known that for 60 years, Sheila, and we've never gone after it yet.
But Roger, what is Main Street going to look like when all this goes down? I mean, what about the workers here? I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing to me. I mean, the pension plan Ponzi scheme, that was exposed. We take the fall for these lying, filthy banksters. How does that work? You've still got a European crisis brewing, and then the shuck and jive with the U.S. deficit. But they didn't talk about the catch-up they did. And the euro was a beta test for a one world currency. And you've got 5-6 of the trades are controlled by these algorithms, not people. This is very, very serious. You've got Detroit Brewing, you've got Chicago, you've got the Bank of International Settlements. There's so many things going on here. You've got countries cutting deals. England, Germany's leaving us. We can't broker any deals. So the undisputed, like I said, the big dog, call it whatever you want, the undisputed heavyweight superpower of the world just got kicked out of the contenders circle. I mean, the cloak of immunity is thinning, Roger, and the day of reckoning's coming. Because I'll tell you, again, this is Great Depression playbook, like one of you just said. 75% tax on your income? That's worse than the Great Depression. I mean, monetary inflation, price inflation, stagflation. That's the triple-headed beast, and it's the perfect storm for a global economic system or a one-world system.
Well, I would have to agree with that. And again, we just scratched the surface. There are so many things I wanted to say, and I wanted to give you a chance because you are our guest, and you put out some great information, Sheila. And everybody knows that I can talk until the world dies. So I had to let you get in and put out some of this phenomenal information that you always bring to any show you do. We're at the end of our first hour. Sheila, I want to thank you very, very much for being a part of this, and you will be asked back again and again and again, probably to the point where you decide not been on their way too much. It's called overexposure. But thank you so much. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate everything you do with the Weekend Vigilante and with your participation in the Liberty Beacon Project. And again, we hope to have you back soon.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And again, everybody, the Liberty Beacon is really something, of course, we want people to get involved with, get on there and share.
And that also goes for the Weekend Vigilante. And Barry, I'm going to give you the final word, my friend, because you've got two really, really big-time talkers here. And the only time I think you really got a chance to talk a lot is when I got kicked off the call for about 5 minutes.
Hey, listen, guys, I could sit and listen to you talk for days, okay, guys? Because every time I listen to you talk, I learn wealth of information between you two, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be on this show with you guys and share our thoughts and our feelings and concerns for what's going on on this planet. It's great, and I've enjoyed being here with you guys. Sheila, enjoyed listening to your analogies. They're right on, man. I agree with 99% of what you're saying. And thanks again, guys. And we'll be talking lots.
All right. On our next show, when we invite Sheila, I want to hear what the 1% you didn't agree with was. Okay. Talk about putting him on the spot, Sheila. Anyway, this has been, Can You Believe It? The premiere show. And we thank you all for listening in and bearing with us for the first show and a few technical difficulties we've had. I can't even talk. And by next week, all of this will be ironed out. And we're looking forward to presenting you with another great show.